What's going on, traders? It's Trader Timbo back with another video. Just wanted to hop on and go over my trades from today. So I ended up having a good bounce back day on these accounts. So I lost 1,000 yesterday and I basically made that back today. So let's get into it here. So let me go to the 30-minute chart. So this is yesterday's action. So that was the high of day for the regular trading hour session, and that was the low of day zone over here. So most of the day yesterday we were stuck in this range. So coming into today, you can see we're still in that range here from previous day low zone up to this same as the pre-market high here, this like 735 area. So I wanted to see us get out of that range, right, for me to take a trade. So let's go to the 5-minute chart. You can see we had a pretty good move up here right off the start. We got above that pre-market high level here. Strong close. We hit that previous day high zone, started to get some rejection. We kind of had a bounce off that pre-market high on a retest here, and then they brought it back down. And then on the next candle, it looked like we were starting to push up. So I was looking for a long because the 9 EMA was sloping up. We're back near it. We're back near this pre-market high level. I know we had the previous day high zone right above, but I thought there was a chance that maybe we can go break it, right? Go up and test it higher. So for me, it was worth a shot to take a long. So we opened, I think we had a little bit of a lower wick, and we started to move up pretty hard, pretty aggressively. Then it kind of like came down a little bit and I just got in long, just kind of risking underneath that pre-market high level. It went up a little bit and then it flipped back red, came underneath that zone or underneath that level, and I got out, took the loss. No big deal. But obviously we're rejecting this zone. We couldn't hold above that pre-market high level. So in my mind, I'm thinking, if we can't hold above outside of that range from yesterday, right? Let's go back to the range. This range right here, right? We couldn't stay above it. So if we accept back into this range, a lot of times what happens when you accept back inside of a range, it'll go test the other side of the range. So that was kind of the idea here for a short that I took next. So we closed back under, right, under the level, underneath the 9 EMA. And then on this next candle, we moved up, we wicked off of the pre-market high level, and we flipped back red, and that's when I got in short right here, back under the 9 EMA, right, with that same idea I just talked about. We're coming back into this range from yesterday, so I'm targeting back down to the lower portion of it, right? So we get a pretty good move down right away. It came down to this 50 EMA. We started to see some bounce. I was hoping we'd go and test lower at the 200, and I was going to take some off there, but we ended up bouncing, so I took one off just in case they were going to come back up. I wanted to just reduce my risk and take a piece off, so I took some off there. And then the next candle, we came up to the 9 here. It looked like we were rejecting, and I added some back, and then ended up still kind of pushing against the 9. And at this point, I had my risk still was above this level, right? Because the idea of the trade is still, I want to hold below this level, right? As long as we're holding under the 9 and under this level, I still want to be short, targeting down to this previous day low zone here. Next candle, squeezed up even higher. I almost got taken out. If it would have went above this level, I would have stopped out. But it wicked up. It came closed back down here, back near the 9. So the 9 still being respected overall, right? We're not getting like a strong close above it. We're wicking. This is like 4 wicks in a row now on the top wicks. And this is a big wick. This is a big rejection. So I stayed in the trade, right? My risk's still above this level, still with the idea of coming down to this zone. So we end up moving down nicely, and we got into it here. I took off a piece of it here, right? Just in case we were going to bounce and maybe get a move back up to the top of the range. I was still holding some here to see how we did. We held below the 9 EMA. We end up making a new low. And then I end up getting out on this extension here. It was actually, so my trade of 8 actually took me out because I set a profit target, max profit for the week, or for each day. I set earlier this week, before the week started, I set for $1,000, just so my consistency doesn't get out of hand if I make more than that. So it ended up working out nicely. As soon as it got extended, it hit the 1,000 for the day. So it took me out automatically down here. So I didn't even have to do anything. So kind of got lucky that it hit there. And that was it for the day for me. So, the first trade, took it long here. It didn't hold above the level. It ended up flipping back red on the candle, seeing some rejection. So I just got out. Right, I didn't like how it was looking. I probably could have held off on this trade because we had this bigger size red candle here. And I talked about this yesterday, how I don't love to enter next to like a big size opposite color candle. So I could have been more patient and not even take a trade at that point. But I like that we were right on that level again. We're right near the 9 EMA. So I thought maybe we're going to get a test, at least back up to the highs and maybe up to previous day high. So I'm still okay with it. I kept it small. So, kept it within the risk parameters. Maybe could have avoided that one, but I'm still okay with it. And then the next trade, obviously, once we close back under this level, I'm thinking move down to this previous day low zone, back to the bottom of that range from yesterday. So as soon as we wicked up here on this candle, rejected the pre-market high, which is also the top of that range from yesterday, flipped back red, back under the 9 EMA. That's when I took the short here. I think I got in with 3 total. I think I got 2, and then I added 1 once I saw it kind of starting to work more. It started to really kind of move down. It's hard to tell because these candles look kind of small right now, but at the time it's easier to see as they're printing. And then, so took off the piece there. This ad definitely could have been better. I could have been more patient to wait for price to kind of start rolling over more to see more confirmation that we're actually respecting the 9. Wait for like a little bit more time for consolidation, for a pullback, for more rejection off this 9 EMA level, right? So I could have been a little bit more patient on that, but you can see we ended up kind of forming just like a little bear flag here, right? You get the move down, we're kind of consolidating, and then they end up breaking it down here. So, ended up working. Like I said, if we would have pushed above this level, I would have stopped out. So I took a little bit of heat on this kind of little squeeze up, but they end up wicking it. And if we would have closed like up in here, I would just cut it. But I wanted to wait and see how that 5 minute, it was either going to close up in here or just take, if it would have went up here without even stopping, I would have been taken out. My stop was right above this level. So ended up working out, thankfully, and we had a nice move down. So one other play that I was already done for the day at this point, but this was a nice play I called out on the Discord is, I made a post about this on Twitter just now as well, but we had this move below previous day low, right? So this thing is still valid to the downside. We have good momentum, so I'd be looking for a pullback entry short if I was still looking for a trade. And then we get this nice engulfment here, right? This red engulfs the green, rejecting right at the previous day low level and the 9 EMA, right, at the same time. And then the next candle, you can see it opens up here. It kind of came down a little bit at first, and then it turned green. It pushed up, retested the previous day low level, and then flipped back red here. And that was a great short entry right here if you're still looking for a trade. It rejected nicely on the previous day low level, pretty much exactly there. Respected the 9 EMA, and you could have put, taken the short as it flipped red or as it broke the low of this previous candle, and then put your stop basically above the level or above here if you want to be, have a wider stop. You can see it ended up working out nicely. You ended up moving down to this overnight low level here, and would have been a nice trade. So I actually called it here. I can show in the Discord. Where is it? Let's see here. Make that a little bigger. So yeah, I was talking about we're coming back up to retest the previous day low. It looks like it might roll back over once I saw this engulfment starting to engulf. This is before before it was actually engulfed is when I said this. And then I'm saying it's right off the 9 EMA in the previous day low level. And at this point right here, I said this candle needs to flip red for the bears. We're testing the previous day low. And I said it could be a nice green to red entry if it does flip, right? So if it does flip this candle right here, green to red, it could be a good entry for the bears. And then it ends up flipping and you get the nice move down, which you could see ended up being you got the nice flush down. And then there was also another opportunity after that. If you missed that move, I was talking about a failed double bottom might be playing out. Let me see. Maybe I didn't talk about that in here about taking a play, but I was talking about basically when you're in momentum and yeah, here it is, the weak double bottom. So you can see right here. Let me open this up. Yeah, so like you can see right here, the bulls tried to step in, right? And they went above the previous candle here. They went above it, and then they got engulfed right here. Trying to play like a double bottom for anyone who's going against the actual trend, a lot of times that can lead to another good move down, right? So anyone who bought this thinking it's a double bottom, it gets above the previous candle, and then they end up reversing it back down. You get a nice flush down. So just one more play that possibly, could have been taken, and it's kind of back near that 9 EMA as well. As soon as it gets engulfed, you can see, for an entry, it maybe could have been on the candle close here. It kind of wicked up a little bit here and then flipped back red. So, you could have taken an entry somewhere in this area and just aim for this overnight low level down here just for a scalp. Since we are at that point, we're starting to get extended to the downside after a pretty big move down. So, just got to be careful at that point in the day. So that was pretty much it though for today. Obviously yesterday I had the tougher day. I lost basically $1,000 on those accounts yesterday, but I was able to kind of make it back today. So a good way to bounce back and end the week on a good note. So I'm happy with the result today, and I'll be looking to hopefully, take that momentum into next week. It looks like, price, we've kind of had some choppy days lately. Today was like the first really good day of price action that's been, pretty advantageous for me. So I'm hoping that next week we start to get, similar price action to what we had today would be nice. So hopefully this video helps you guys kind of with your trading. Just showing you guys kind of what I look for with these levels and using the EMAs and the price action. Like I said, I'm not perfect with anything. This definitely wasn't the greatest add back on this entry, but ended up working out. We held the level, and the bigger picture idea still played out. So I think having like that bigger picture idea of like what you're looking for with like the zone to zone or the level to level type move, if you have that kind of in the back of your mind and you're like patient to like kind of let these EMAs kind of work out, like the 9 EMA, if you're able to let that happen, you can have some pretty good trades work out for you. And then it's always a good idea, for me to, take some off to try to, pay yourself a little bit along the way too. You don't need to hold the whole thing for the entire move. I mean, you could do that, but, my style, I like to scale some out along the way because you never know when it could reverse. Like this could easily reversed back up after I took some profit here. It could have went all the way back up, right? And I would have stopped out on the rest. So it's good to lock some in, because then it's easier to actually hold through the pullbacks when you take off some risk, versus if you didn't take anything off. Like if I didn't take anything off, it's harder to hold through these pullbacks, if you don't take any profits kind of on those quick first moves that you get. Even though it didn't get all the way to like my target on the first move, you take a little bit off, it makes it easier to kind of hold on these pullbacks. So that's really all I have for today. But another lesson from this week is just like, if you have a bad day, like don't get so down on yourself. Like yesterday I could have just got really mad and upset, and had all like the negative thoughts and all that, like that I'm not good enough, or I'm a loser or whatever, and that could have rolled over into today. But I didn't do that. I tried to stay positive. I tried to learn the lessons from yesterday that I could bring into today, and try to bring a good positive attitude. And then I was able to have a good rebound day today and bounce back, right? So I think that's a good lesson there. If things aren't going well on one day, it doesn't mean you're gonna go into a spiral for the next day. You can easily turn it around and get right back to where you were. So just be resilient and try to keep a positive mindset even when things aren't going great, right? So all right, guys, I think that's all I have. So hopefully you guys had a good week and a good Friday. And I'll try to keep making these videos for next week as well. And then do me a favor, guys, if you're going to use or if you're going to buy any evals at Apex or Lucid, Apex is 85% off right now, and Lucid I think up to 50% off. Use the code Timbo if you don't mind. I would appreciate it. I make these videos to try to help you guys out. So if you guys want to help me back out, I would appreciate it. And like I said before, don't go crazy with the evals. If you're not profitable yet, just kind of use them as a way to build your skills and get those good habits in place, so that you can start to get some payouts. And then once you get some payouts, then you can start to buy more evals, right? Once you're already consistent. So all right, guys, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helps you guys. And I'll put the Discord link. It's free. If you guys want to hop in there ever, you can come on in. And like I said, I'm going to start live streaming again probably next week. So you can look out for that as well. So all right, guys, have a good rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. All right, later.